Welcome to Communication 100. I'm the Basic Course Director, Shannon Scott. I've decided to introduce this particular assignment, which is one of the three major assessment elements that are in your Com 100 classes. That way, after I've explained the basics of the assignment, then your own instructors could put their own spin on it. But these are consistent across all of the classes. In today's video, I'll be showing you the rationale behind the assignment so you can understand why we're having you do it and what you should be getting from it, and also talk about the instructions for the first of the three paragraphs that make up the paper. First, what's the importance of application? Well, in a course that teaches you both interpersonal communication theories as well as how to give a public speech, we also want to honor the fact that every time you write something, you get an opportunity to get feedback and to show a teacher that you understand the material you've been taught. It's one thing to understand a concept, but it's something else entirely to be able to show us that you see that application in its real world setting and that you can evaluate what you've seen. So the three paragraphs of the paper will end up being like this. The first paragraph will focus on comprehension, where you simply make it clear that you understand the term that you're going to be using. That's pretty easy. The second step is then when you use that term and apply it to your own life by showing us a story in which that term applies. And then the final paragraph will be devoted towards the evaluation, where you tell us about the ethical choices that are made in the situation. Now, you might ask yourself, why an essay? Well, our attitude is that just like we wish that more of the classes that you take outside of communication encouraged you to give public presentations, we also honor the fact that every writing assignment you do gives you a chance to get better at writing as well. Whether it's out loud or in writing, communication is a key concept that we want to encourage you to pursue. So let's focus in this video on the first paragraph. Now, your assignment will probably be done in individual components the first time, and then the second time you do the essay, you'll turn in an entire essay completed. So let's talk about the first paragraph, comprehension of vocabulary. In this paragraph, you can start with something as simple as a textbook definition, but make sure it only begins there. Obviously, the teacher knows the term and anybody could look up a definition. But in order for you to really show us that you understand the material, some other options might be putting the term into your own words. If you explain it in terms that make more sense to you than the textbook definition does, then that's an indication that you've really digested the material and you understand what you're talking about. A good way to think of this is imagine you just read it and you're now teaching it to somebody who didn't take the class. Another possibility is to think about how the term you've chosen relates to other terms. For example, is it part of a subset of a larger category of terms? The example that's on the rubric that your teachers may have made available to you is about pseudo-listening, which is one of many bad listening habits. So in that essay, the person had the option to say, this is only one of the many things that can go wrong with listening. Another option might be to talk about how a term that might be really close to another term could be separated to help the audience remember, almost like you were helping them review for an exam. So take a term that's very close to the second evil twin of a term and explain exactly where the dividing line between the two occurs. Now, one final tip that I'll give you for this first assignment is your paper should be completely interchangeable with anybody else doing the same assignment. That is, if the person sitting next to you in class has chosen to use the same term, your paragraphs could be virtually identical, or at the very least, they could serve the same function. Because this first paragraph doesn't get into your personal story, doesn't begin talking about the application. It's simply an explanation of an individual term. So anybody else using that term should be able to use your first paragraph. That's a good test to see whether or not you're keeping these elements separated. That's it for paragraph 1. We'll be back in a bit with paragraph 2.